Welcome to My Wife, the Casual Fan, where I, Jordan Cooper, discuss the week in pro wrestling with my wife, Samantha, the casual fan, who missed most of what's happened over the weekend. That's what the casual fan does, right? You miss
Yeah,
SmackDown, you miss Collision. Do you have any clue what happened whatsoever?
I watched the recap of SmackDown and I haven't seen anything about Collision yet. I was away with my childhood best friend for the weekend, so I missed a lot of wrestling.
So on SmackDown, you missed, I don't know, you didn't miss much wrestling on
Well,
SmackDown.
who watches WWE for wrestling though?
Well, is it they watch it for cinema?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
From what I saw though, people, well, not people, Simon Miller, uh breaking it down, it looked like with the bit kind of the Easter eggs and the small moments we like, which this isn't a small moment, but for WWE, it's a small moment where Paul Heyman said, I only answer to the chief or whatever. And then Solo quieted him, like, oh, okay, that's a nice little hint, a nice little foreshadow if you follow through with it. But you burned me once and I'll never trust you again.
Well, they also hinted it that at the end of the segment when the lay, the tribal lay, whatever that
Hmm.
signifies who the chief was, and Solo picked it up and kind of hesitant as far as giving it back to Roman.
Yeah.
From the recap, first off, do you know how long the segment was?
Yeah, Simon said that it was 40 minutes and that it was supposed to be 20.
Well, I don't know how long it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Word was is that it did go long, and that's
Yeah.
why the Sheamus versus Austin Theory match was kind of like marred by like it was a 12-minute match with like 8 minutes worth of commercials in between all of it. Uh, and then the AJ Styles carrying cross match was like 2 minutes long for seemingly no reason. But obviously, people tune into SmackDown. We saw the ratings. I don't know. I don't give a crap about the ratings. Uh, it's like the best rating for SmackDown in the demo, like in years. People love this story. I'm not saying that they shouldn't or anything. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if the segment deserved to last as long as it did, but
What would make it go that much longer, right? Knowing that we know that the show's pretty, I mean, beyond scripted. Like it's, I mean, they typically have the moments planned out excessively. How did it go long?
well, you
I
take
think
a look at
it
these
goes long, what,
bloodlines.
30 or
These
40
bloodline
minutes?
segments, they spend like, well, we could do this like facial expression for like 7 seconds, and they're like, no, no, make it 37 seconds.
In
Right? They
case someone doesn't
pause.
get it.
What don't they get?
In case someone doesn't get it, you got to leave it there for them to think
Oh,
real hard about it.
okay. If you would have seen this, would you have bought that Roman was willing to give up control of the family? Like, yeah, I could tell from your face that when he took
No.
off his title, he threw it on the ground, took off his lei, he kneeled in front of Jey Uso. Did you buy for an instant that this was anything other than going to be a nut shot?
No, of course not. I don't know why you would. Like Roman is really good about I don't know that necessarily I feel like our culture uses gaslighting wrong a lot, but he's so good at like his emotional manipulation that there's not that we would buy it, but like he's really good at putting himself in this situation to be vulnerable for the sake of like the outcome. So I really think that that's an interesting thing about Roman doing that is it was almost believable, right? Like not in the character, but in his acting ability is what I'm trying to say.
Do you think Roman uses always tries to portray himself as the victim is
Oh
like the
yeah.
form of his gaslighting?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's where I was getting like he will convince you that you're right and he'll convince you because gaslighting typically is telling you that you're crazy. But he goes to the next step of convincing you that you're right before swinging back to you're crazy in some form. And yeah, he does use his emotions to manipulate people like that.
So they did this segment. I mean, obviously, from a booking perspective, we see the match coming down the line at SummerSlam: Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for the title, which Roman has not defended since WrestleMania. There are people online. There are people. I don't know how smart they are
Mhm.
that think that this is the story. Jey Uso beats Roman Reigns, and he's now the top babyface, head of the tribal court, and the head. I mean, truthfully, they didn't even have like a court case. I mean, they showed Exhibit A. Here's a bunch of stuff that Roman did that we've all seen before. Like, what? How compelling as a casual fan do you did you find? Did you find that this really progressed anything other than the two major notes that they needed to hit to set up the match? Was Jimmy needs to be kayfabe injured, right? So they take him
Mhm.
out of the equation, and then sow the seeds of doubt with Solo Sikoa on, is he actually going to stay with Roman, or is Solo going to be the one that ends up being the heel of all heels and turns on everyone?
That's what I think is going to happen. It would be in my opinion, the J would be the smart writing because it would go back and you would go through tape and you would use that history. But that's not really what this company does. Solo is just, oh, he came in and he shook things up and that's fun. You should have fucking done that with Sammy. But I see Solo in my mind, Solo is the worst story. Like it's not the best story they have to tell. I think Jay is. So
Oh, so you're
that's
not
why I think
compelled by Solo's allegiance at all?
I mean I am, but I don't trust that he's loyal to Roman. I think Solo's loyal to Solo.
So he's
Whatever
not even loyal
advantage
to
he
his
can.
brothers.
No, no, he's gonna take whatever advantage he can get. Like he's not, dude. Like how many weeks ago did I go? They're brothers, like blood, same mom and dad brothers. I didn't even know Solo was their brother.
Did they? Is it not portrayed well enough to you for them?
I mean, I didn't see the beginning of the story, and I don't watch every segment, so it's possible that just I missed that because I'm a casual fan. But isn't that the point?
Oh, so you until that point you weren't even you weren't
I
even
thought Solo
aware.
was a cousin. I thought he was a cousin.
Well, what's the difference?
There's a huge difference between, like, the difference between Fancy and Cole and Fancy and Mason. These are my family members, but like there's a huge difference.
So if they were brothers, like this, like Roman is the Usos. I mean, the fact that if you probably don't even know how half the people are related to each other.
No.
That I the
Mhm.
bloodline is as confusing as me trying to figure out your family.
See, it is the bloodline. Families are confusing though, right? Because you don't know who's cousins and who's siblings. But based on your logic, that wouldn't matter, right? If they're all the same.
Right, because you don't know, like, okay, Roman, who is the Rock in comparison? Rikishi is whose father?
Yeah,
Alpha and
I know all the
Sika,
names.
the Samoans, who are they involved in? What other, you have, you have other people involved. You have like Trinity Fatu, Naomi, like she's married to one of the Usos, and then what have
Oh
they?
yeah, I forgot about that.
Right, so like, so to you, the bloodline is almost as confusing as me. But
Mhm.
you have three brothers, and they have children with multiple people, and
17, yeah,
and
nieces
then
and
the
nephews.
children also have children, and then you don't know, like, okay, who's related, whose child is which child, and so do you,
And
so do you,
every
so do you that you view the bloodline very similarly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean like much like my family, it's family is family. So it doesn't matter if it's your first cousin, your auntie, your third cousin, like you have your core family, which is your siblings, and that's number one. And then the next family member or the entire family is number two. And so that's kind of where I got that like Jimmy and Jay were the brothers that come before everything. And then Solo and Roman were on the outside as cousins. But Solo being their brother, like in my head, that creates a strong allegiance to side with the Usos, whereas he's always been in Roman's corner.
Okay, so you're someone that would be rooting. You hope that Solo sides with his brothers.
Yeah, big time. I'd be
Okay,
really
so you
upset.
are invested in Solo.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, you're right. I guess.
Because really, the Jade and Jimmy stuff, I mean, is kind of done. I mean, they're gone.
Jordan, I didn't even know they were twins.
How could you not tell that they were twins?
I don't know. The
They look
haircut's
alike.
different. They do
Oh,
look
the
alike,
haircut.
but so do me and BJ.
Yeah, but you're different genders.
So others can be very similar looking. Leave me alone.
So other than the recaps, like to you, that's like okay, more bloodline stuff. Everything takes forever. Stuff happened. Let's wait
Well, and
until next.
it's hard though because I got so recently burned by the bloodline, and you know that I'm a dramatic person. So WWE burned me like that. So I'm afraid to get deeply invested.
The dog wants to get invested.
I know he has some things to say about his brothers. Stop.
This is what happens when I record in my studio and you record in the living room.
Yeah, but he's not on your lap trying to bark at the mailman. He has some things to say though because he wants to know why Paul Heyman isn't getting more representation as the non-blood relative.
Well, Roman trusts in him. I think he's a player in this also because I mean, Paul Heyman's character you can never trust. I mean, you can never trust.
Literally, if Brock Lesnar somehow came involved in this, it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, Roman fired Paul Heyman as recently as 6 months ago.
Yeah. Well, did it there was like that really because he was working with Brock, right?
I mean,
And
Heyman has been the advocate for Brock for 10 years. I mean, like that before
right.
Roman.
So a lot of I don't know. I think on it genuinely the most person I'm most invested in is Paul because he's somebody you can never trust. You always got to watch what both his hands are doing.
So you're invested in Paul in what way? I mean, you're not rooting for? Do you want Paul Heyman to turn on Roman?
I don't think Paul Heyman will have to turn on Roman. I don't think he's ever been with Roman. Paul Heyman, to me, like in my head, the way it's gonna play out, like is Paul and Solo are working together to take down Roman, to take down the whole bloodline. And no, like I don't know if it's take over the bloodline or what, but those two make sense working together to me.
I get the sense that Paul Heyman is just going to side with whoever seems to be the most powerful in the bloodline at the
Whoever the
time.
chief is.
Right. And that's just what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, that's his character. I mean, he'll find the top guy and be like, okay, I have allegiance to you until there's another top guy. I still think the story ends. I mean, I've been adamant about it since, earlier in the year that Roman doesn't lose the title until he comes out to the ring alone. Like
I
alone.
think,
No
yep.
Heyman, no Soul. Solo's gone, but Heyman's also gone. Like Heyman's gone also, and it's
Mhm.
just Roman Reigns, and then it's the one match that has no shenanigans, no bloodline shenanigans, no nothing. There's no one to come out to help you. Maybe Roman does, the over dramatic acting of like, where is everybody? And no, and the commentators kind of like there's no one's coming out. Not people come out and then they get thwarted, but like literally just like no one
No
comes
one's
out.
here for you.
Right. And then he loses clean to Cody at Mania 40. And then Roman goes away for 6 to 8 months.
Ever. Just
I
let
think
the
no,
man retire.
I think he comes back.
Um, I could really see, and we talked about that. The story could have played out that way at Mania, and he could have lost the belt, what at that time belts to Cody, and been alone because of how
Yeah, but then
everything was going
you
down.
couldn't do Jay Uso pinning him. That
Yeah,
wouldn't have been a
that's
big
true.
deal. Does
Was
that
it
matter? Does
though?
that matter to you?
No. I mean, a pin is a pin, and just because it wasn't worth anything doesn't mean it didn't matter, but it's consolation prize.
Is there anything in WWE that you're invested in outside of this? Do you have any clue what's going on? Do you even have any clue what's going on outside of?
Outside of no, outside of the bloodline on SmackDown, no clue.
How about Brock Lesnar coming back to harass Cody again?
I'm
Right.
not surprised because Brock isn't even a two-dimensional character. Can you have a one-dimensional character? He's just a
Yeah, but
flat piece of
he
paper.
puts on the hat and the overalls. He's Farmer Brock.
Oh, I
That's
know
his
he's
other
a farmer.
dimension. That's his other dimension.
I've never liked Brock though, ever, because
Oh,
I think he has
why haven't you liked Brock?
he has 4 moves, and they're not the moves that I like. And
What would you rather see him do? You want to see him do hurricanranas and moonsaults?
probably no, I just don't want him to be portrayed as this super wonderful wrestler. Like, because remember, I'm new here, so he's not interesting to me. Like, I don't have history of knowing what he's done.
Yeah, but he
I
does.
just know.
Doesn't do you at least perceive him the way that he's presented as this guy could just wreck everyone? Just like this guy. This guy could legitimately hurt everyone on the roster.
I mean, because that's true, yeah, because of his MMA training, I believe that. But no, I believe that that character is written to make you believe that. He's showing you that he's telling you that he's not that, but they're not really showing it in the writing.
Right. So you're not compelled by Brock at all. You've never. I mean, in your
I'd
limited
rather
experience.
I'd rather never see Brock ever again.
Here's the question: who would you
Hmm.
rather never see ever again, Brock Lesnar or CM Punk?
Mm. I don't want to admit it, but CM Punk does bring drama that I love, so I would have to pick Brock.
Right. You missed the CM Punk Samoa Joe match.
Oh my God. I'm so devastated.
Okay, obviously that's sarcastic.
You know what I am really unfortunate missing though is your reactions. Did you have any good pops, or was it as predictable as was gonna always
It
be?
was I don't think they should have did this match for 24 minutes in Regina, Saskatchewan in front of 2,000 people on a random Saturday. And
Right, because this was
he
a
got a
big thing.
Punk got a roll up win. You know, the
Really?
most devastating move in all of sports entertainment.
Yeah. The one where it's opportunistic and not skill based?
Right.
Okay. That doesn't surprise
I
me.
think it's a waste. The whole thing is that Punk's never beaten Joe, and then it's like, oh, we kind of fluked. Yeehaw.
Are they gonna run it back?
Maybe that's why. But how compelling is it if Punk already beat Joe?
That's the one thing that we both agree on that Tony Khan does when he doesn't run it back very well. Like the story is complete, and then he's like, "Let's run it back." No, Ricky pinned Jericho, Eddie pinned Jericho.
There are
Oh, maybe
people
Chris
that
Jericho.
there
Phew.
are people out there. There are people. Because you didn't see Collision at all,
I
right?
didn't even see highlight post shows. Like I know zero things that happened. I don't know even one match that was on the show besides Punk and Joe.
Okay. Well, you want me to a quick rundown? Willow was injured in her New Japan Strong match. And I mean, just banged up. So it
Oh,
got
okay.
moved to Rampage next week. Then it was
Okay.
supposed to be Athena versus Willow in the semifinals of the Owen Hart tournament. So they put on Julia Hart in a squash match to replace it. I love her entrance, whatever, but the match was whatever it was. Then
That's fine. Let her have a squash.
they put Scorpio Sky versus Action Andretti.
That's a weird combo.
Right. And it
Was
was
it
a
a good
face
match?
face matchup. They shook hands afterwards. It really didn't do anything.
And there's only the crowd was real small.
Yeah, but it was a good crowd for the
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't a bad crowd, but I mean, obviously they're in a market that typically doesn't get television wrestling. Uh then we also had uh the other semifinal, which is the Hobbs versus Starks. And in that match, QT tried to interfere, get up on the apron, and he got on the apron and was distracting Aubrey Edwards. At, and while he was doing that, Hobbs got reversed something and got a spine buster on Starks and then pinned him. But QT was he got Hobbs got a visual pin while his own manager was distracting the referee while he's pointing, going, no, go, go, go. And then Hobbs got pissed off, went up to QT on the apron, and then Starks came and bumped him, and Hobbs bumped into QT Marshall, and then Starks hit the spear and pinned Hobbs, and then Hobbs essentially Aaron Solo came in because he was going to try to kill QT, and Aaron Solo got spine busted, and then Harley Cameron stood in the way of Hobbs and QT, and of course Hobbs isn't going to attack a woman or whatever like that, and he goes away. So obviously they're doing this to get him the hell away from
Thank
QT, and
goodness.
right, and probably turn him into a pseudo babyface by doing so. Because anyone that goes against QT is going to get cheered. So like,
Yeah, but like Hobbs never worked to me as a heel, like because he doesn't have enough character to be a heel.
does he
Um,
have enough character to be a babyface?
well, because you can be a silent but strong baby face. Like silent but strong heels don't really work.
Well, I mean, if you're, if you wreck fools, you don't like. It seems like you don't like that character. You don't like that character type as at your tastes in professional wrestling or in media in general. Is that like you
Yeah.
mentioned before? Like I'm not compelled. I don't like Brock Lesnar. I don't get him. I don't. Four moves, boring. But you're saying that very similar to like Hobbs and guys like Wardlow, guys like Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley, I guess to some extent, like the bigger guys, Brian
Mhm.
Cage.
Yeah. He's
That
an exception. Brian Cage is an exception.
well, Brian Cage, you like because he
His
does
flippy
like
shit.
almost cruiserweight type of moves also.
Yeah.
But the character is very one dimensional. Like there's nothing behind it.
I will call you out though because you and I both say that Wardlow's not that character. I don't I mean I love a big muscly man, but I don't need a big muscly man to be Ethan Page level yelling. Like,
People
just be a
like that
soft
promo.
spoken.
People like that promo, that Ethan Page promo. People liked it.
I like here's the thing. Ethan Page to me comes across as an homage to that style of wrestler. So it's not excessive or egregious to me. I prefer if he were because if you notice my history of pasty ginger boys that have you ever seen a muscular ginger boy? Like look at Orange Cassidy, he's real skinny. So I like the small smart ones, which makes sense why I like Adam Cole. Why I like Orange Cassidy. I don't like the big dumb ones.
Or the ones that are at least presented as big and dumb.
Yeah,
Like Wardlow doesn't have to be presented as big and dumb. It's just that
no.
they present him as that.
And they let him, right? They would now that he's with Arn. Oh, I love him with Arms Anderson because he
Oh, you said
he
Arms Anderson? Arms
yeah,
Anderson?
remember we called him
Right.
armed, but then when he
When he
I
showed
was
his
like, he had, because he's always in that tracksuit. And then when he had his, like, he's jacked. And you were like, yeah, you didn't know that. And I was like, his arms are huge. So now he's Arms Anderson.
right. And you know nothing about Arn Anderson other than he points a finger gun at people and he has big arms.
What was my first question to you about Arn Anderson? Genuinely, do you remember my first question to you
No,
about
no,
his
what was it?
history? I asked if he was a raper.
Oh, if he
Before,
was a because you knew he was but you did know he was he was a
Mhm,
veteran old wrestler, a
mhm.
classic, but you didn't know what his history. You didn't know the Brain Busters with Tully Blanchard and the Four
Yeah,
Horsemen. Like you had no idea. He's just like, oh, here's an old guy, like just like Jake the Snake Roberts with like Lance
yeah,
Archer. It's like I know the name. I know that he used to be an old wrestler, but that's about all you know about.
yeah. Yeah, Jake the Snake's a little bit differently because of how iconic he was. And I've watched tons of like documentaries and stuff with you. But yeah, I don't like that persona, but I don't like that person because we don't live in a physically strong dominate the world anymore. And so I'm
Or at
over
least
it.
you don't, or at least you don't want to.
Yeah, you're probably right. I probably just hide from that stuff. I spent the weekend with my family, so I saw that like brute force shall win
Right. You don't like the
mentality.
wrestlers where you feel like if you open the dictionary and the definition of toxic masculinity, there's a picture of that guy.
Which is why I like Brian Cage, because if you looked at him, you would be, this guy is a schmuck, and he's well spoken, and he's gentle, and he's an amazing wrestler. Like, I really like, and I told you that the last couple times now that he's with Swerve, because I love Swerve. And I've been like, I think I'm really starting to like Brian Cage a lot, because I get, what's the word? Like, he just doesn't meet the expectation you have of him, and that's what I like.
Right. Even though the cover, the inside of the book doesn't match the cover. And it's very similar to Keith Lee. I think don't don't you feel much more compelled? It feels like I want Keith Lee to talk more.
Oh yeah, I like I think that Keith Lee, his man of many words, or he's not a man of many words. Like, shtick works, but when he looked, was it Renee, when he just looked at her and he said, "He's a brave little one," or like whatever, just that really small thing. He's got such a confidence in him that I love Keith Lee.
Do you think we had this conversation in Wrestling According to Alba.com, which is John Alba's Patreon and Discord community, on his Hangout stream yesterday, talking about how it seems like Tony Khan and AEW can't present big men well. Like they had what big guy, stereotypical big guy, have they been able to elevate past being a big guy? Because we take a look at Wardlow, Hobbs, Keith Lee, Brian Cage, Big Bill, Lance Archer. Like we can name a whole bunch, but like, and
I'm genuinely
a lot of
thinking.
these guys are good. I mean, these are guys that can wrestle. I mean, I know AEW is more of a work rate company. Like, how good are you in the ring matters a lot more in AEW than it does in WWE. But like we've seen Wardlow wrestle like he was a 5'7" guy. We've seen Keith Lee, we've seen do that. Brian Cage could wrestle as well as anyone that's much lighter than him. I think the Big Bill is a little bit more limited, but he's 7 foot tall. He's fine being presented the way it is. Satnam Singh is totally green. I'm perfectly fine with him being the great Kali type and just I'm tall, I do a choke slam, and I'm Omos, and that is
Yeah.
what I am. But I get the sense that talking about toxic masculinity, that and I asked Albert this because he has more of inside knowledge. Do you think that it's the producers slash bookers, the people in charge, or is it the talent that we've said for quite some time that if they presented Wardlow as a vulnerable, soft spoken, like big guy, like he would get over more so than the one dimensional I powerbomb people 4 times. Like that gets old. Where that's fine for a while, but then where do you go from here? And it seems like all of the big guys that they've had in the company, they follow that early 1980s, late 1970s stretch of big guy, wreck fools, mow over people, and either they're the big bad heel that the babyface overcomes, or they're the babyface that crushes the smarmy heel. And then once that's done, back in the day, it would be like, well, on to the next territory because there's really nowhere to go from there. I mean,
Is it Tony Khan or is it the performers?
well,
Like,
that's what I'm asking. I don't know.
yeah. I think for me, a lot of it, just based on what we've seen, like in the all access and kind of what people say, it seems like you are in charge of your character. The thing with Wardlow is you and I see Wardlow trying to be that character. I think if he was given enough time and pushed the way he should have been after the TNT championship, I think that Wardlow will develop that character. I think he can be that. He's the one person I would buy.
Well, let's say you could say the same thing for Hobbs. I think the Book of Hobbs stuff, the vignettes that they were doing, were
It was
good to
good.
develop a character, and then it's just like they pair him with QT Marshall. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. There's definitely been some really big missed opportunities and some balls that have been dropped in a big way. But you and I have always said like Tony has too much. He needs to, like pare things down. We're still in the transitional period. Like this is still a brand new fledgling company. And so
Fledgling that sold 70,000 tickets in Wembley.
yeah,
Fledgling.
but it is though. It's not even 5 years old. So Tony Khan doesn't have 5 years of booking experience. That's what we all have to remember. Just because he did it on video games and in his head doesn't mean he's gonna not drop the ball sometimes. So I think
So
Collision.
basically what you're saying is that Jeff Jarrett should take over everything.
I don't know if you would have asked me when I first met him, but damn, his stuff with Mark and Jay Lethal, like he's the reason I don't literally throw shit at the TV when Jay Lethal comes on.
So Jeff Jarrett has grown on you.
Yeah, not to the point where I look forward to seeing him, but I don't dread it. His stuff is actually better than I thought it would be. It's very basic, it's very simple. But as an artist, you know that the basics and the simples are actually the hardest to do because when it's simplistic, the errors don't get lost in everything else going on. So you have to be very good to do the simple things and make them look nice.
But and I am assuming the first time you saw Jeff Jarrett, because this is what anytime you see, I know you. Anytime you see someone on the screen that is 55 or older, your first question to me is he a raper?
Mm-hmm. It really is. And it's not even, it's a product of the time. I'm not justifying it or giving men a pass, but don't you think it's a fair question to ask ex WWE? Well, I don't even know if he ever did WWE,
Yeah,
but
of
like,
course he did. Yeah.
okay, so ex WWE talent. I'm still not sure if Matt Riddle's a raper. So like I'm always gonna ask it about people that come from that side because that culture is accepted.
So, but that
If it's
matters a lot to
accepted
you
at the
when it comes.
top,
So that
yeah.
matters a lot. So in your mind, as a casual fan,
Hmm.
you can't root for anyone that
Could you
has.
like genuinely you can?
Well, I could respect someone's work outside of who they are as a person.
Not with rape. For me, not with rape. But you're also a man that's never felt like you were about to be raped. So yeah, it's fair that you don't understand as a pasty redheaded white guy the level of fear that women experience daily because of men. So like I can get it and I can also get why that's essential to me and probably a lot of other female fans. I just wish that more males would stop accepting the work of rapers. And I get it. I do too, right? Because if it was something I loved, I'd be like, "Oh, well, the artist is different than the art."
Well,
It's complicated.
I think in the current product, I would tend to agree with you. But looking at the past, I there's
Yeah,
one thing, and I could say
you're right.
like Ric Flair, excellent at what he did. But do I want to hear from him now? No, I want him to go away. Right, like that. I have more of that type of attitude. Same thing with like someone like Bill Cosby, coming from a stand-up background. I can't not say that Bill Cosby was one of the greatest stand-up comics ever. But
Yeah, you're
do
right.
I want to hear from him now? No, I want him to go away, but I can still turn on himself and go, yeah, this is objectively good. Same Chris Benoit. I could watch his matches and be like, no, these are great matches. But like,
I could too, Chris Benoit, even though like so me, child murder's fine, but sexual assault is not. And I don't know
okay,
why.
so
I
we could
wish I
quote
knew.
you on that.
Yes.
That's something when this podcast gets huge and everything, that's gonna be the thing that cancels us, right?
Well, it'll cancel me. I'm fine with
Yeah,
being
but now
canceled.
I'm condoning it now. Child murder, okay. Sexual assault, no good.
Now, if it's child sexual assault, let's all band together and burn them to the ground. Luckily, though, we don't have those allegations very often in wrestling.
maybe maybe we should. You know the
Maybe.
stuff with like Grizzly Smith back in the day, right?
Mm-mm.
You've seen that dark side of the ring.
Uh-uh.
maybe let's keep you nice and naive and pure and think pro wrestling is wonderful and TVPG and everything.
Yeah.
We don't need to introduce that. I just saw on Twitter on this coming Dynamite, we're going to get the announcement of who the fifth men, assuming they're men, are going to be on each side of the blood and guts match for the Elite versus Blackpool Combat Club.
Hmm. Normally, I will watch the morning show, the What Culture Guys, the morning show, Adam and Andy, and I didn't at all like for the last several days, but I did see that their graphic was that the headline was Punk wants to join in Blood and Guts.
No,
Is that
I don't.
true?
I think that was purely. I think it was. I think it's the type of thing where Danielson was supposed to be that person. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But now they need another guy. I I get the sense that it may be Jericho, but I hope that's a red herring. I think it was the type of thing that someone leaked. Someone leaked. Like there was a backstage conversation of like, we need a fifth guy, and Punk basically said, "Hey, if you need me, I wouldn't mind doing it." I don't think anyone took it seriously. I think just someone,
Right.
he said like, "Hey, I'm available." And that there's, I think
As
it's
a
more the
joke.
fact of like, look, I just want people to know if this gets leaked out that I'm looking to work with everyone, and it's those guys on the other side that don't want to work with me, type of thing. So I don't think that's I don't think there's any credibility to that whatsoever. Uh, I think there's more intrigue on who's on the Blackpool Combat Club side that's on the Elite side, because
It could be anyone.
it I can't see anyone other than Kota Ibushi being the fifth guy without the audience being disappointed.
Mhm. Remember when we all thought it was going to be Mercedes money and they
Oh,
had
with
to
the
basically tell
Outcast,
us, yeah, they had to
right?
like
Oh
basically
no,
tell
no,
us
no!
that it
You're
wasn't
talking
going to be.
about the back in January with the Saraya versus Mystery opponent match,
Yes,
right? And then
yeah,
they put in these little breadcrumbs of like,
where
they're telling
everybody
us,
thought it was going to be
right?
Mercedes.
And then we were pleasantly surprised when Adam Cole came back, right? That was
Hmm.
that episode. So who do you think on the Blackpool Combat Club side? Because it can't be Kingston, because he's in Japan.
I think it's Kota Ibushi.
No, I'm talking about on the BCC side.
Oh, on the BCC side, yeah, that's the Elite. Honestly, once you said Jericho, I can't see it being anyone else. Genuinely, I hope that's a red
What does he have
herring,
to
but
do with this? Why why would that happen? Because when you have a segment where Jericho comes out as a baby face, like
Mhm.
basically saying that he has to change his ways, and then Callis comes out, and anytime you pit Don Callis against anyone, the other person's going to look like a baby face. I'm just sitting here going,
Uh, I
like
hope not.
the only thing anytime these types of things happen, I always think Chris Jericho, the person, is just like, how can I get involved in whatever the hottest thing in the company is? Like I always that comes in like, oh, Punk's back, okay, it's gonna be Punk versus Jericho at Webley, like he's just kind of thing.
Punk versus Jericho.
What does Jericho have to? What happened to Sammy and Jericho? Like they have the segment with Callis and Jericho, and then it's like I thought the whole story was between Jericho and Sammy Guevara. And then
Right. Yeah, that
Sammy
is
and
the whole feud.
right. So what is Jericho? What's going on?
I have no clue.
Would you be compelled if Jericho was somehow involved in the blood and guts match with people that?
I genuinely like I do think he is involved though. He's been in Blood and Guts with BCC. Like he actually makes sense to me. Like
Yeah,
them
but against them, he's been against them.
yeah, but couldn't they recruit him because they know how hard he goes?
That's kind of a contrived.
Well, sure, of course it is, but what are you gonna
So
like?
you're down with it. You're down with Jericho in the blood and guts match.
Mm, I'll say this: my inkling is that it's going to be a Japanese wrestler that I don't know, So I'd rather have Jericho than a Japanese wrestler. I don't know.
That sounds a little racist.
Probably. A New Japan wrestler. It could be a white person from New Japan. Can it be
Right.
Will Ospreay?
Who says maybe it can be
Can
Will
it be
Ospreay?
Will Ospreay? Well, now I just hurt my own
They're
feelings.
going against the Elite, and Kenny's
Yeah,
there.
it could be.
Why not?
I would die.
Why can't it? Don't they need 2 people? Because
No.
Danielson's gone. It's Mock. Am I getting this right? Who's the 4th guy? Am I missing something? Because it's Moxley, Claudio, Yuta, and who?
Takeshita.
Oh, Takeshita. Oh, okay. We forgot about Takeshita. Okay. So Takeshita's there, who's technically not in BCC.
Right. Could it be somebody related to Takeshita?
I think it's
not
more
related.
Someone related to Callis. That's why I'm like, Jericho's in the ring with Callis. Don't. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I don't know. To me, it is contrived, but hey, you know how to do this. You know how these guys work because you've worked against them. Join our forces. Feels very wrestling to me. Again, casual fan, so it is a trope, but
Do you care who wins? Do you care who wins the match?
I don't think I do.
Well, that's not good.
My assumption is I think BCC is gonna win, so I guess I want them to.
I think you would rather, you don't care about the winner, you care about the progression of the stories that come out of this. What happens if Ibushi's there? What Takeshita versus Omega? What Moxley and Kingston, even though Kingston's not in the match, but like the further progression of those types of things.
Yeah.
Rather than the match itself, which makes my point that I said on Twitter last week, that it feels like these blood and guts matches. I felt like it last year also with JAS versus BCC. It's like they come like 6 weeks after they should. Like it already peaked. It peaks at Double or Nothing, and it's like, why are we doing this? Like, aren't we past this already? Shouldn't this? And then last year's blood and guts, you had the Kingston Claudio Jericho thing, and they never followed up on that because Claudio got the win. Kingston was pissed off, and then they're just like, well, it's okay. We'll forget about that for a year.
Yeah, it almost feels like blood and guts is becoming one of those things where, like, is that going to be BCC's like go-to thing?
Well, I think it's more. I think they're pigeonholing. I think it's more the fact I feel like it's unnecessary. I think it's become. It's such a young company. It feels like they're just pigeonholing. Like, okay, we're going to do blood and guts again this year, and
but right, this is the 3rd blood and guts or 2nd.
3rd. Right, but both of these past 2 have come after Anarchy in the Arena, and I don't know about you, but I feel like Anarchy in the Arena is a much more serious stipulation than blood and guts.
Me too. It's like, oh, just a cage match?
It's a double cage match.
Oh, it's a double cage match, so just a bigger cage.
Oh, and it's also the weird rules where the match technically doesn't start until all the competitors are in.
Right, and fuck that competitor that went in first. Let him just literally die. I don't like blood and guts, honestly. I really don't. And you're right. And that's where that's running it back for no reason. Tony's bad at that.
He's bad at running it back.
Yeah.
No more running backs. No more run backs.
Some things really deserve it. Adam Cole, MJF, run it back. Because of that 30-minute time limit draw. Like, it's a good thing to use. Just not. We need a counter. We need to bring it down like Simon and count it for all the times that we've had a second match with people, or 3rd or 4th or 5th match when we already had one satisfying ending.
Well, you would have hated Collision then. Collision has turned into FTR versus Bullet Club Gold like again 18 times in a row. Like the match was like a 28-minute match. It was a great tag match. I think it went too long.
FTR and who?
FTR and Juice and Jay White.
Jay.
And the Guns, right? Because remember, they had the trios match. They had Punk and FTR versus Joe, Juice, and then they had the the 8-man with Starks got involved, and now this past they had an eliminator tag match. Jay White and Juice Robinson beat FTR to get a title shot, which will be this coming Saturday, is a World Tag Team title shot, best 2 out of 3 falls. If you've watched Collision the past 4 weeks, you've seen like seemingly like all these competitors in matches like over and like for over an hour of ring time.
What's that feel like?
Feels like SmackDown.
Mhm. This is just this is the AEW SmackDown.
Lastly, which is the thing that I could have opened with, the thing that you're most compelled by, right? Not the bloodline. It's the birthday buddies.
Birthday boys. We
You had
haven't talked
the
about
whole
that yet.
segment with MJF and Adam Cole. They were in the gym, right? They had that pre-taped in the gym. They came out.
Oh, that was really funny. They like because fat jokes really piss me off. First of all, they're not funny. They're low hanging fruit, and I've been fat my whole life, and like literally wanted to die because of it. So like Adam Cole being my heart, being like, we can't really say that anymore. And then them turning it on Shivani. I laughed so hard because it was a fat joke done with taste.
And then they come out. They have the match where MJF plays all the tropes, the greatest hits of underneath baby faces. He first does the heel. He tries to get Adam Cole to do heel stuff with the ropes, the abdominal stretch on the ropes. And Adam Cole's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then MJ's like, come on. And then he pulls like that. Just that match is full of like, if you watch wrestling in the 80s and 90s, like it's just like all the tropes. MJF role reversal. He's playing the underneath babyface. Adam Cole is playing like the guy that doesn't want to be a heel, and MJF is going back and forth. I thought it was great. And then afterwards, they have MJF has the birthday celebration for Adam Cole. And when the guy came out with a cake, remember what I said to you, because you're a casual wrestling fan. I'm like, there's one immutable fact in pro wrestling. Anytime you see a cake, someone's face is going into it. One of these people, I've never seen ever. Maybe you can post it in the comments if you've ever seen it. Mention it. Have you ever seen a segment where a character came out with a cake? Either a cake on a stand, cake in a hand, a pie, or anything, that it didn't end up on one of the performers.
So desserts are a Chekhov's gun?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is who does it end up on type of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So like once I saw the cake and I'm like, okay, is MJF getting the cake? Is Adam Cole?
That's what you said.
Right. MJF. Would it surprise you if a lot of the wrestling pundits that I follow and listen to podcasts, and I know you always ask me, why do you listen to podcasts to people that you don't agree with? A lot think this whole MJF Adam Cole stuff is awful.
Because they don't get that they're the ones being made fun of. I get it. I genuinely get why a lot of people wouldn't find this funny. Like that whole promo was them nothing but shooting troll comments. And then this, I don't know. I just feel like as a casual fan, I knew that there were wrestling tropes in there. I knew what MJF was doing. I didn't know necessarily everything he was referencing, but I knew that these were kind of old things.
Yeah, but that's why I figured that people that know wrestling would get it more.
Would like it. Yeah.
The criticism was that MJF is the world champion of your promotion, and the world title program is now a comedy sketch.
Goofy wrestling for life.
Right. That's what I figured. That's what you would say. Right.
Yeah, but
so I think that's the main complaint of like this is not a serious title program. And of course, me and you are on the same page that wrestling could be anything. I think this is so much more compelling than doing the standard MJF, you got 5 things that you need to do in order you get it back. Like, dude, and I think it's even more compelling where there's some ambiguity on MJF's character because you see that Adam Cole, we see in these promos where like MJF's not watching. I'm like Adam Cole's not buying what MJF is doing. It's like I don't
Right.
trust MJF. It's like I'm just placating him, right? Letting him think that he's getting over on me. But we saw at the end of the birthday celebration that Adam Cole was legitimately touched and says, MJF, I just want to say something like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, and MJF came across as you said it when we were watching this. You think the character is sincere.
Hmm. I think that
You don't. Yeah.
so.
What I'm saying is that you don't think MJF. You don't think this is he's playing Adam Cole. You think that MJF legitimately wants Adam Cole to be his best friend.
Well, I think at his core, MJF's inner child wants a best friend. He wants to be genuinely doing those things for a person he loves, but he doesn't know how to do that. And I think he has trust issues that he's actively pursuing his friendship with Adam Cole while subconsciously like sabotaging himself. And so I think that MJF on a conscious level knows he's going to screw Adam Cole over, but it's all like self-fulfilling prophecy. I think he genuinely wants a friend. He wants to be loved and liked.
And he wants to get that double clothesline over.
I can't, oh God, when that happens, I'm going to die.
How do you not like this? I've heard like this
I don't know.
This is too sports entertainment. This is not a world title program. I'm looking at this going, dude, I'm more invested in this than almost anything else on the show.
But but this kind of comes back, right? What I love about MJF is that he emotionally is not, he's a really emotionally open character. And he talks about his ADHD. And so anybody kind of going through that world really experiences the things that MJF goes through. And so I think that he knows that the world is imperfect and he knows that the world is ugly and complicated. And I've made up this whole narrative. None of this is probably true. But in the last year, he has probably put on like, would you say like 30 pounds of muscle, maybe 20 pounds of muscle. He's gotten
He's
huge.
bulked up a bit, yeah.
And so I almost wonder if he's not now going for the look to also have the look and be the guy and still be emotional and be like MJF is kind of a soft guy, and then he covers that because he's insecure. So those guys that don't like Adam Cole and that don't like MJF are perfectionists that just want this one thing. And if they don't like what everybody else likes, they feel like they're wrong or they don't have the confidence to like something that's not popular. So I kind of think that those people are falling victim to MJF because he's those things first and then a hot body second. Did that make any sense at all?
I don't know. I don't know what other people are thinking. I think people just look at this program as like this is obviously leading to MJF and Adam Cole having a title match.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to do that, they don't want it to be comedy. And to me, pro wrestling is everything. To me, as long as I'm invested in what's going on, I think it doesn't matter. I think this is excellent. You know what I told you. I said this is going to end very similar. MJF did this very similar thing in the CM Punk feud, right? When he came out and basically, like you said, very emotional, like the scarred kid of saying that I wanted to when CM Punk left, I wanted to kill myself, like type of
Mm-hmm.
like but now it's like in this pain and everything, and he got a lot of sympathy, and CM Punk even came out and said, "Is this true?" Like, and they're supposed to be bitter rivals,
Yeah.
and then the following week, CM Punk is like, "Okay, whatever," and then obviously once you see all the white shirts, there's gonna be a lot of blood, and then he hangs him on the ropes. I think 2 weeks before whatever the match is set up, that because of Adam Cole's, we all know he's one concussion away from possibly, you can't get another one of these. That MJF gets, it's like, oh, we like MJF now, and then he has to do something really despicable. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
that's the most obvious thing of he's going to turn and give Adam Cole it's going to be kayfabe concussion heading into the match. And your belief is that it's not going to be that was the plan all along. You think that because you're on the side that MJF the character truly wants Adam Cole to be a friend of his, that
Mm-hmm.
Adam Cole just does something that basically says to MJF, "Hey, I was tricking you the whole time." And MJF's reaction is, "Fuck you, I'm going to give you a concussion because you hurt me."
No, no, no. I think more along the lines of MJF kind of having this contingency plan in the back of his head. So he has a backup plan for if Adam Cole screws him over. And so he's going to see a tape. He's going to be watching something and come across Adam Cole talking shit about him. And then that's when he's really going to like, I knew it. I knew I couldn't trust you. And then have this like big plan. That's kind of how I think it's going to
Okay,
work.
so you said, but you mentioned before, like self-sabotage. Like he's already going in. You think that the character has already gone in thinking that I'm going to put the effort in, but I'm going to get screwed at the end regardless.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I gotta figure out a way to screw him
Just in
way
case.
before that, just in case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it way better than I did. Yeah. Yeah. I think that what do they, what's the stupid cliche? Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Mhm. But
I
you don't
kind of
think
think
Adam
that's
Cole is prepared. You think Adam Cole is doesn't some
arrogant.
right. Do you think Adam Cole is going to come to a point where he's not playing anymore? Is that when the turn happens? Like, do you think
I
Adam
think,
Cole gets bamboozled? Do you think that this actually becomes do you think, because it's July 10th now, and we don't have All In and All Out for another, 7 weeks? Do you think that MJF and Cole get a title shot against FTR or whoever's the Bullet Club Gold, whoever as the title? And like, no, this becomes even for like a 3 or 4 week period, a babyface act, and they're all, and oh, look, and all jolly and whatever like that. And maybe this extends past, maybe this isn't the All In All Out. I mean, do you think they run with this at all? Because from a booking business perspective, I think that that's not gonna that isn't I think this is I'm under the impression that based on the context clues and what they would do from a business perspective, that the All In Wembley match is MJF versus Adam Cole for the title. And then the following week, it's MJF versus CM Punk for the title in Chicago, that MJF wins because CM Punk has this bag with the other title in it. And at some point, they're going to need to address that.
hmm
And really, the if MJF has the title and he's a heel, and they want to present him, he's not going to turn babyface in story. You can't have really. CM Punk is not going to get universally cheered anywhere else outside of Chicago.
hmm
So the only way to keep MJF's heat as a heel in that match is to do it in Chicago. So CM Punk gets the babyface reaction. Unless I think it would be so interesting. I just thought of this now. They don't do it in Chicago. They do it in Long Island.
Oh man, that would be so good.
We've already done the MJF versus Punk match in Chicago, because that was the first match that they had
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
the dog
Oh,
collar
that's
match.
such a good idea.
Because now you don't mind CM Punk getting booed because you're in the bizarro world of MJF babyface town for that one, and now it's the complete opposite. They do it in Long Island.
And it's interesting because we know that MJF gets face cheers and then people are like, "Oh yeah, we're supposed to boo him." So halfway through the segment start booing him. So I think that they could do a really good face run. Him and Adam Cole could just be the mega baby faces and then go to that. And then so if you do go to Long Island, it would be even more Bizarro World because he's already not been a heel for 3 or 4 weeks. Oh man, I want that to happen so bad, but
Okay.
that's just
Anything?
like logistics probably
Well, I
wouldn't
don't know the
happen
next
for
time they're
that.
going to. They haven't announced any. I mean, whatever. I mean, they're coming. They're coming around to us. We're going to be going, dude. We're going to a lot of shows in
I know, we go to a lot of shows each year.
right because August we have August 16th is Nashville, so
Mhm.
we drive down to Nashville 2.5 hours, and then that Saturday Collisions in Lexington, right? So we're going to that, and
Mhm.
then 2 weeks after that we're going up to Chicago for Collision and All Out, as
Oh,
well
wow,
as
I didn't realize it's that
GCW.
soon. Mhm.
And then they're going to announce it. I think 2 weeks or right after that, they're going to be in Cincinnati,
Oh, shit.
right?
Okay.
And then SRS reported that November 1st they're here in Louisville
That's
at the
gonna be
M
a
Center,
fun one. We gotta take the boys to that one.
the one or Cincinnati.
Yeah, yeah.
Cincinnati probably makes more sense, but the direction that we're going. But look,
Yeah, but the boys like to stay here,
right,
so
but Louisville, it'll be the first time we'll see an AEW show where we don't have to drive more than 15 minutes.
and we've gone some pretty far distances for AEW shows. We literally went to international waters for an AEW show.
What international waters?
The cruise?
Oh, that's not really. Well, yeah, it's AW talent, but that's not
It was an AEW show. Get out of here.
right. It's the Chris Jericho cruise. Well, we're doing that again also in January,
Mhm.
right?
Thank goodness I'm not on the phones anymore. My job would not be happy with all this travel.
But the live shows are. I mean, that's what. If it wasn't for the live shows, I don't think you'd been into wrestling at
No,
all.
no. And then I think that I've cemented my place. Like the first time we went to an indie show, I was like, "Oh, I think I like this more." And then we've gone to a couple indie shows, and now you're like, "We're going to GCW," and I'm like, I genuinely think I get more excited to go to GCW shows.
I think in Chicago that Friday night show.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm under the impression that maybe we just don't even bother going to Collision on Saturday at
I'll go to the
all.
Saturday one. We'll see what the
Right,
card is.
right. Because I mean, look at our reaction towards Collision.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
like
would you rather watch GCW Billy Starks versus Starboy Charlie over Andrade versus Preston Vance? Like,
right or something like that, right? And now
mhm.
All Out is All Out. I mean, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
the pay per view or whatever, but it's the type of thing where like even the Lexington Collision, like where we're taking our nephews, it's like okay they'll enjoy it, but you also what is wrapped up in that. You also get the Ring of Honor stuff. And I don't know
Hmm.
what you've been seeing with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has a pay per view in 10 days. They've announced one match, and the Ring of Honor shows have been essentially AEW Darks. I mean, like these
Hmm.
cards are like they started the first like month of Ring of Honor on Honor Club to have
Yeah.
stories. They had promos to people like people were going after people, and now it's like you turn on Ring of Honor the past 4 weeks. Go into Cage Match and look at the cards, and you go like it's Dark Elevation, like it's not like and no story. Like here's 16 matches in 2 hours,
For no
and no,
reason.
and then it's other than like maybe Stu Grayson and the Dark Order type of story. Maybe Mark Briscoe gets in. Mark Briscoe was for weeks. I'm going after the TV title. I'm going after the TV title. And Kingston was like, I'm going to go after Claudio. And then it's like, oh, well, no, I'm going to take a booking for the G1 in Japan. So I can't do the pay per view. So it's like, well, and Samoa Joe is like, I'm doing a program with CM Punk now. So I'm not doing the pay per view. Well, now let's just put Mark Briscoe against Claudio and call that the main event, and then let's have the Lucha Brothers have the Ring of Honor tag team titles and be in trios and 8-man matches on Ring of Honor and have not defended the actual Ring of Honor tag team titles since they've won it.
Why does Ring of Honor even exist at this point? It is such an afterthought that you're doing more damage to the brand than just letting it take a breather for a minute. Just put it on hiatus for a year.
Or just don't present it as what it is. I mean, I can't I canceled my Honor Club subscription.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad it is. Because that's how
Yeah,
bad it is.
you don't cancel subscriptions.
I don't cancel subscriptions often, but I'm not paying $10 a month for something that I look at the card and go, well, I could skip that. I'm not going to
Mhm.
go back to that ever. Like, and then you look at the library, and the library sucks. Like all the stuff that I would want to see in the library, they don't have. It's
Like the Punk Joe
astonishing
stuff.
that they have it. You could watch the Punk Joe stuff in the scene. They have the bigger people have like these compilation because it's a DVD that came out of like Brian Danielson's best matches, and it's like 8 hours long, and then one of the matches will be him versus Nigel McGuinness in 2008, type of thing. But I want to go back, and I want to like my attitude was I want to go back and watch the two shows that I was at in Philadelphia that there are DVDs of, and they don't exist on that. Like that, it literally it doesn't. I go back to 2000. I want to go back to 2004 and watch all the Ring of Honor shows that involve the CM Punk versus Samoa Joe feud. There's one show, and it's none of those shows. Like, dude, there were like 14 shows there were 14 Ring of Honor shows that year. There's only literally one show for 2004 on Honor Club. And I'm like,
That's awful.
these DVDs were made. I bought the DVDs.
Right. All you got to do is just rip the DVD, if anything.
Right. So to me, I don't care about Ring of Honor 2000. I don't care about Sinclair Broadcasting Ring of Honor, which is like 2010, 2011 onward. To me, Ring of Honor was what I got into after WCW closed and ECW went out of business. 2002 to 2008 type of Ring of Honor, and they barely have any of that stuff up. So I'm like, what am I'm paying for AEW Dark every week, where maybe there's one match I want to watch, and that's it. Because you're not watching it, right?
No. The only episode I ever watched was Willow versus Athena.
Right, because that's a match that you wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's gonna be on Ramp. That's now on Rampage.
That sucks. Willow deserves at least Collision.
No, but because the final is they had to do. I mean, they obviously they showed their hand. Once they announced that Willow and Athena Willow is not cleared to wrestle, and they rescheduled it, you know that Willow's going to win.
Mm-hmm. We already expected Willow to win anyway.
Right. But remember last year they did someone got injured and they were replaced by Chris Statlander. Remember Chris, and then Chris Statlander faced Ruby Soho, and that was the Rampage or whatever we went to before Double or Nothing, that the crowd was so behind Chris Statlander, even though Ruby Soho was a face at the time, and we booed Ruby Soho when she won.
But Chris Statlander's promo for being that person when she was like, I wasn't even supposed to be in this and I am not giving up my shot. Oh, it was really good. Like, one promo can really put you over.
But the difference is that if Athena was supposed to beat Willow and the final is supposed to be next Saturday, they would have just replaced Willow with someone else and had Athena beat her. Right? They wouldn't have bothered having them. Right. They would have done the same thing that they did with Chris. That's why last year with Chris Statlander, people were like, maybe Statlander's going to win. Like, no, she wasn't even in the original bracket. So obviously their plan wasn't to have her win.
Never her.
It was never her to begin with. And I don't think they're going to write a storyline where someone gets injured and the replacement comes. I just don't think so. So I view this as once they said, oh, we're going to do this match next week. It's like, well, okay, obviously Willow wins. And this was one of those matches where there's a case to be made that Athena hasn't lost in God knows how long in Ring of Honor. Like, maybe Athena wins. And maybe because then you have the Athena takes on Sky Blue, or then for the babyface heel matchup, or it's Ruby Soho versus Willow. But obviously, because they used to tag team together, it makes sense. Do you think because this is another criticism with the double blind, the blind elimination tournament with the tag teams. Uh, they didn't release the brackets, right? We've seen them pull names out of a hat. I hope to God, I think it will be hilarious, and I hope they do it for logical purposes. Because obviously, Swerve and Keith Lee are a tag team. That's
Mhm.
convenient.
Mhm.
Sammy and Danny Garcia are a tag team. That's convenient. MJF and Adam Cole. That's convenient. I hope it's RJ City that's like rigged everything. That there's they do a
That's
segment
so
where
funny.
where Renee finds RJ like like oh no that's
I
wasn't
want
me,
that so bad
right. But
because
the
it
thing
would
is,
explain.
right, it would explain everything, right, and it makes sense now. Okay, that okay. But people with the brackets, it's like, oh, they never announced brackets before. I almost think that when they announce brackets, it's worse because we know the way
You
that
know who's winning.
storytelling happens in wrestling. I looked at the Owen Hart Cup and I go, okay, it's going to be this guy. Obviously, it's going to be Punk and Joe in the semifinal because that's you could look at if a heel wins here, a babyface has to win the other one because that's the way wrestling is booked. I almost prefer it if they just never announce a bracket. They just go here. This is a quarterfinal match. You don't know who they're going to be paired up with in the next round, so any of these people can
I
win.
almost like it as a blind eliminator. Like the Owen Hart should be your bracket, should be like, you know what I mean? You're absolutely right. Because I was just going to ask you, do you even enjoy stories like that when you know how booking works so much better than I would say the average fan? And so
Right? I'd rather them
does
not
that,
show it. I want to be surprised. I want to be like
yeah.
either of these two people could win because I don't know who they're going to be paired with afterwards. But once you see, it's like, oh, the winner of this match faces this big baby face, and I'm like, well, who's the heel in this match? It looks like Nyla Rose is going to win. I mean, like,
Right.
it's very easy to see those. Oh, Darby won that match, which means whoever's the heel in this match is going to win. I mean, like, they typically
Right.
do that. So like it especially in matchups when they have these type of tournaments, it's not these aren't squash matches. These are actually competitive matches where you could make a case at least 25% of the time that what even if you think that well most of the time this guy's probably going to win, you can make a case for this person to win also. And once you
Mhm.
put out the brackets and I know who they're facing, kind of like, oh, I kind of like going into matches where it's competitive and I'm not really sure who's going to be the one that pulls out the victory.
To be fair, though, those don't happen very often for you or fans like super, super fans like you that understand how wrestling works. I think where this comes in being the casual fan is to my advantage because when you say it's going to be Ruby and Willow, all their history, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. But I'm not piecing those things together. I don't know that many casual fans are.
So
And
you
I
don't
tell
look at
you
a
that,
bracket and go, I'm gonna try to predict what's gonna happen. You're just like, there's the bracket, I forget about it immediately.
yeah.
Okay, which is fine. You can say,
Well, because me, I have a toxic level of hope. Like my level of hope sometimes will legitimately ruin my life because the hope I have in people or things. So I always have a hope that they're gonna pull a swerve. So I will buy in,
oh, so you
and I
want
think,
swerves. You like swerves.
oh yeah,
But
like
as
I
long as
would.
they make logical sense. You're not talking about just swerves for the sake of swerves.
I mean, I'm fine with a contrived. We're all playing make believe. And I play make believe better than you play make believe because you want your make believe to be within the confines of real world with real logic and real. And I'm just a little bit here where I can, like, we can have some alligator proof shoes for this one segment because it makes it more fun. Sure, the logic's not there, but it's more fun.
Where'd you
I'm
pull
in
out
that camp.
alligator proof shoes? What the hell does that mean?
I've been watching Bluey a lot, and it's a quote from Bluey. There's a parent out there that got it.
So alligator proof shoes are like, is that like
It's a
a
it's a rule you
metaphor?
make up. It's a rule you make up. So like if you are playing a game and there's no other logical way to get there, like you got to put on alligator proof shoes to go through the waters full of alligators.
Okay. So there has to be
So you
alligators
just
there.
yes. So we could like just the I mean, honestly, the blind eliminator challenge is alligator shoes, right? It's a rule you made up to make the game more fun and easy.
Okay. And you don't mind people breaking those rules that are set out because you can
Mhm.
make them up whatever you want.
Yes, but that's because I don't understand the storytelling on the level you do. Me and the casual fans, we don't care as much as you and those super fans and the super smart fans. And there can be a level of both, right? Like the MJF and Adam Cole thing. It is alligator proof shoes where they just kind of made it up because it's going to be fun. But then for you also, they have the logic. So it like you said, wrestling can be all of it. There are going to be things with Adam Cole and MJF that you don't like because you're not willing to suspend that level of disbelief that I'm going to love because yeah, let's make this rule up just for the sake of it being fun.
Right. I look at it and go, if that rule existed, how come no one took advantage of it like for 20 years previously to that? Like
Mhm.
that doesn't make any sense. They just like make something up. Okay. It is what
Yeah.
it is. I like a defined set of rules that they finagle. It's like, well, based on these rules, these types of things could happen. And then it makes all logical sense. And once you throw out all those rules, it's
Mhm.
like, well, that anyone can win for any reason. And it feels like everything is Deus ex machina. Just anything could happen. And just
But I mean, that's exactly what you love about the Young Bucks, though. That's why you like it because they do those things, right? That I like,
they do
but they
subversion
make
of rules.
sense.
Right.
But they make sense, right? So they if we're using the alligator proof shoes for them, the Bucks particularly, it's perfect. They're going to have introduced you to what alligator proof shoes are 7 episodes ago. You know what I mean? They're going to have brought it up. So it's a little bit easier to suspend disbelief with them because they kind of help you do that. Like I feel like you're a little more lenient on them because you enjoy this style of storytelling.
Right. No,
You
no, I
suspend
agree.
disbelief more than with John Moxley.
That's correct. No, I agree with you.
Mhm.
So anything else from this week in wrestling?
Wrestling can be both. It can be goofy and serious.
Right. Wrestling can be both.
Mhm.
But the main thing to learn is child murder okay, sexual assault not okay.
That's not true. Neither is ever okay. Just
Right.
saying if you're going to pick a fandom, choose
You had
wisely.
the choice. You had the choice of your wrestler being a child murderer or a raper.
You're making it worse than it ever was.
Well, that's kind of what you said. You said, oh,
Kind
Chris
of.
Benoit, I can watch his matches. Ric Flair, no, can't watch his matches.
Yeah. I don't stand by that. Mm,
You don't stand by it.
That's
You're taking it back. You're
no.
you're, you're
Yeah. That's one of those things it's definitely depending on my mood. What true crime documentary did I watch before we recorded?
right. So on depending on your mood, child murder and rape kind of move the needle different ways.
But child rape and murder, obviously at the top.
Oh yeah, once you put them together, then there's no going back. Like you're done. You're done. You're always a heel. You're always a heel.
Always.
Always. Okay, you could follow my wife, Samantha, at 5 a.m. Creations. If you need a cup designed, you
Speaking
have
of
a cup.
cups, this
Okay,
isn't an AEW cup, but this is my 4th of July. Wait, I don't know how to do that.
that's your
Yep.
4th of July cup.
Yep.
When
I
did you
make
make
cups
that?
like 3 years ago.
Okay,
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
I
But
have,
you've
yeah.
gotten better than even that type of
Hmm.
design. That's a more simple design.
Yeah, just a little flag.
Right. So if you want a cup design any way you'd like, contact her at 5 a.m. Creations on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere.
Etsy
And
is 5 a.m.
Etsy,
creations too.
Etsy, everywhere, everywhere. Just Google it. Who knows? And obviously, you can follow me on Twitter at BlenderHD. And yeah, we'll have another week of wrestling. We'll figure out what the hell's going on, and then
I might watch it next week.
you might actually watch Collision and SmackDown and stuff, and obviously Dynamite. You'll always watch,
Always, yeah.
right? And we'll talk about it next week, where I, Jordan Cooper, discuss the week in pro wrestling with my wife Samantha, the casual fan.